everyone. How we feeling? No one's skipping school, right?
I did.
All right. I won't snitch.
Check.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Kit Soho, the flagship, with our guest, one of the most prolific designers in the last 15 to 20 years, but now, this week, he's celebrating becoming an accomplished author with his new book, I Make Shoes. Please welcome Salehe Bembury. So let's start 15 years in or so. What made this specific time the perfect time to do this book?
So I think that within any of the experiences that we get to participate in professionally, not just myself but you all, it's all an opportunity for education. It's an opportunity to absorb. You're getting to learn about whatever craft you're a part of, and then you can take those learnings and apply it to whatever else you want to put into the world. So for the last 15 years, I've gotten to work in virtually every corner of the footwear space, from startups to high fashion to large corporations, and I am now taking those learnings and turning it into a brand.
What was the moment? We were just having a conversation about doing books, and it's something that is on a lot of people's bucket list once you get into an industry and check off things that you want to accomplish. But was there one specific moment where you were like, I need to do a book?
I think really it was hearing other people tell me that. I've gotten to work at so many different places, and I think it's really more of a voyeuristic journey of when you see behind the curtain, it's really interesting. And I lived this life, so I've gotten to experience these things over the years, but you all have not. And so not only is it an opportunity to share gems, but it's an opportunity to pull the curtain back and let you guys see what I've been up to for the last decade and a half.
And the title is simple and to the point.
Yes.
I Make Shoes. What were some of the alternate titles, and when did you kind of fixate on that title and be like, this is the one?
So it is called I Make Shoes ironically because I do much more than that. I hold many titles. I do not believe titles matter. Within all of the projects that I've worked on, I've always tried to identify doers, people that are actually that take action. And so within my work, I am a creative director. I am an employer. I am an HR manager. I am the trash guy. I am the check collector. But I think a way to sum that all up is that I make shoes.
And it's funny you say that because you and I always talk. I think even on the Kith trip in Phoenix,
yes,
I realized that this guy was doing everything. His own assistant, planning everything, and you just said that basically you held every title for yourself. I think now more so you have gotten kind of a semi-roster of people, but you were always getting your hands dirty, and where everyone would be like, oh, who's handling that for you?
Yes.
It was always you. How important was it to do that and now kind of transition into getting some help?
I used to believe that if you wanted anything done right, you had to do it yourself. But we only have about 17 hours in the day, and the conversation becomes, how can you maximize your time to the fullest? So you need to invest in whatever your expertise is, and then also invest in the expertise of others. So up until maybe about 3 years ago, everything you'd seen me do, I'd done by myself. And now I have a team of 5. There's a few of them. Actually, I got a team of more. You guys way too people.
There they are.
And they help me get it done. LeBron just said it. No one ever did anything great by themselves. You are your team, and so I invest in that now.
And talking about the book, what are some of your favorite parts? I know that I think one of the standouts is coming from Complex and working at Complex. Just so you guys know, it's not easy to lock down an Andre 3000 interview, let alone a Andre 3000 hike in Los Angeles, and you've kind of done both. So take us through kind of that. I wouldn't call it the tentpole of the book, but it's definitely a standout chapter.
I just wanted to load the book with as much value as possible. So, the initial conversation was my journey. and the chronological journey of starting at Payless and figuring out how to gain employment and be seen and be acknowledged and figuring out how to dress and going to lunch and all those things that we all encounter when we first get a job. And then beyond that, it was like, how can I engage my community and the people that my friends, how can I bring them in? And Andre happens to be one of them. I've been joking recently that I'm the only non-rapper to get an Andre feature.
It's true.
And yeah, so we hiked for about 2 hours, we transcribed the conversation, and it's about 6 or 7 pages of just an exchange.
To that point, what do you think makes a hike a perfect setting or atmosphere to establish rapport?
Anyone, by show of hands, does anyone here hike or have ever been on a hike?
Okay.
Okay, awesome,
all right.
nice.
Group of hikers.
It's a common goal. It's isolation. It's kind of like everything. Living in New York, there aren't many hikes that are close by. But what's amazing about being active in the outdoors is everywhere, right? So you can go to Central Park or you can go to your local whatever and just experience being intentional and mindful within whatever you're doing. But in LA, we have hikes. I call them mountains, but they're just hills. And with close proximity to hiking, I've kind of created a brand from that. Yeah.
Another part that I love is the in-studio photos.
Yes.
And see, they got excited too. But there's another thing that I remember you saying, I think, because you always do the Ask Me Anythings on Instagram. For anyone's familiar, it's like actually a really good peek into his stuff. But two-part question. When did you decide that you wanted to document the in-office studio photos and bring it to the book?
Yeah.
And then after you answer that, I have another photo question.
Sure. My dad's a photographer, so I've been raised to document. Before it was the thing to do, before everyone was taking pictures with their phones, I was documenting, and I thought it was important. And I have a lot of interesting people visit my studio, and so just by design, I documented. And that's actually what made doing the book really easy, because I've documented for so long. And if I could give you guys any advice, whatever you do, document it. And it may not even matter. You may not even realize where those images or video are going to go. But I promise you that if you document it, you specifically own the images. That's another one to hold on to. Own those images, because you'll have to have a lot of conversations and 10 years down the line. But yeah, documentation is really important, because you'll also get to analyze your work. You'll get to learn from that and evolve as a creative or whatever it is that you do.
And we had you, no plug, but we had you on the Complex Sneakers podcast this week. It drops tomorrow.
Yes.
One thing that I didn't get to ask you that I don't know if you even know. So for the longest, I never smiled in pictures. Never.
Yes.
Never. If you check the Instagram, you don't have to check it, but even sneaker shopping, I'm just standing there, me mugging. And I remember you saying years ago, you try to smile in every photo.
Yeah.
Can you explain that? Do you remember what I'm
Yes.
talking about?
So I guess when I first started taking pictures with people, I was trying to maintain cool, so the pictures often ended up looking like this, right?
Which is like my Instagram.
But I've recently, more than recently, but recently become aware of just the importance of representation and more so just honoring the moment of meeting someone that potentially looks up to me, or even I look up to, because I'm not far removed from meeting someone that I fuck with, right? So when those moments occur, I went from frowning and doing this thing to now I do a very illustrated piece and smile, and it's somewhat performative, but that's me honoring the moment of meeting someone that supports me and fucks with my work. And so I've gone from being that real serious guy to just really celebrating meeting anyone that appreciates me and supports me. So that's the context.
Yeah, that definitely, something we didn't talk about, but that's definitely true.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back to the book, we are in the era of grainy, leaky photos from the warehouse or samples and things like that. You have some pages in here where you actually leaked some of upcoming models, and it was like a conscious decision to do that. Why did you do it, and can you give them any sneak peek of what they may find in here?
Yeah, truthfully, I don't know if it was a conscious decision, because when you work on a project for 2 years, dates blur. But at the end of the New Balance chapter, there are 3 silhouettes, some of which are releasing, and I kind of, for the first time, leaked myself.
Okay, so there's some Easter eggs in here.
Yeah.
And so those, And how do you feel about like leaks and stuff like that? Is like, do you think it's annoying to the designer, or it's just the way they do?
I think as creatives, all we have is the reveal moment. Like if anything you make, I think the most valuable moment is when the audience gets to see it for the first time. So they can be frustrating, but then at the same time, if someone's leaking your work, I think that means that people care. It's kind of the same perspective as your work being bootleg. If it's working so much in one market and other people are able to make money off of it, it really shows it's working, right? So that's one perspective, and then another is it was extremely eye-opening when I found out that some brands leak their own work. They do it intentionally. There's a full department that leaks their stuff, and they even make the images low resolution so it looks like they did not do it because they are now controlling that moment. Because if so many leaks are happening at such a high rate, instead of trying to stop it, it's like maybe let's just join the party and do it better. So it can be a gift and a curse, I guess.
We also have the shoes we're wearing.
Yes.
Your first silhouette of your own brand, and one thing I think that comes across in the book is that you're very kind of deliberate in making the distinction between making your own shoes, just like the title says, and color ups.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see as the biggest difference of doing collaborations and coloring existing models and then building from scratch?
I think some of the most important collaborations in this space are color up, so I would never want to disrespect the color up. It is like the original collaboration, but I also, I think, promote that I'm a designer and I look at a white piece of paper and I create from scratch, and there's a difference. And so within a lot of the things that I'm putting out into the space, I think it's just important for me selfishly that my audience knows that I'm making this with my hands and not simply taking something that exists in the market and putting color to it. No disrespect to that. Some of the best collaborations of our time are color up, so I have to repeat that 5 times. But I make with the hands.
How important did the stars just align, or was it deliberate in releasing the book and the sneakers so close to one another?
So that was a result of just trying to inject a little bit of hype into what otherwise is going to be a brand. Spunge, my footwear brand, is going to be an always-on operation. It's going to be a forever brand. It is about ownership. It is not about hype. It's not about drops. It's not about primarily collaborations. It's a completely different language that I'm speaking. And I guess the purpose of this book tour that I'm on and these conversations is to kind of socialize that. I think I've spent the last 10 years kind of speaking a certain language to a certain audience, and they expect a certain thing from me, and now a page is turning. And so I invite you guys and anyone else that has been following my work to learn a new language.
And what I like is, obviously, it's basically the start of your journey all the way up until now, and we talked about it, but it shows like you really getting your hands dirty, like designing, coloring, dyeing shoes. I would say pouring, what were you pouring into, like big vats of liquid, like?
Silicone. No, silicone, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so describe those days and where you go from that until now.
Yeah, so I mean, the book really is a chronological journey. So from how I look to what I'm wearing, I didn't have my style game together yet. So in some of the images, I look nuts. And just how much I was willing, and still willing, but how much back then I was really willing to roll up my sleeves, and any level of acknowledgement or opportunity was it was almost like a video game. It was just like a level up. And now because of social media and we live in a very microwave society, people want shit instantly. And I don't personally believe that is how it goes. To some it is, and that's great. But it's really just kind of about learning every day and documenting your work and putting yourself out there. And this book really illustrates that. And so what he's talking about is I did a project with Pierre Moss, with Kirby, and he asked me to make about 12 pairs of shoes that were all dip molded in silicone, and then I was cutting them by hand, and I'm covered in silicone, and I think I just did it for the plane ticket, right? But what also that opportunity was being in Fashion Week and getting to be backstage, and I think I met Erica Badu that day, right? And so that was awesome to me at the time. So wherever any of you are in your journeys, just remember that it's not this instant success thing. It really is all about the moments and taking those tools and bringing them to the next place.
And you talk about doing it for the plane ticket, but Can you give us a little bit more about like the Shoot Your Shot chapter?
Which one was that?
I think the Shoot Your Shot is basically like you talking about.
Oh, just like
Yes,
putting
and
yourself
kind of
out
the
there.
mentality, because I think
Yes,
that's
yes,
like
yes.
very helpful to everyone.
Because there's shoot your shot and then there's a shoot your shot again. So that's
Yes.
okay. So I think there's two types of people. There are people that ask, and then there are people that think that if they asked, they would get laughed out of the room. Can we raise our hands if we're askers? Not many. That's what I mean. And so I changed my life by asking. Should I tell the Versace story? I feel like I've told that.
Yeah, tell it, because I know that you like always ask and are inquisitive, and even like, I think the biggest thing is like for an industry that is like quote unquote supposed to be like too cool to ever ask.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you do that a lot, and you did on your come up, and I think that's a very important kind of tool to let everyone know about.
Yes. So the story goes as such. I moved to Los Angeles to design for Kanye West. I do that for about 14 months. That job ends. I am lost. I don't know what to do. I start freelancing for brands to make ends meet. At the end of that year, I had about 2 months rent left. I didn't know what the next move was going to be. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Craigslist. I'm on job sites shooting my shot, just hoping anyone replies. It wasn't about what the company was. It was just simply about a paycheck, about being able to put a roof, and food for myself. So I reach out to someone at Versace. They're a design director. I propose an opportunity. I tell them that the sneaker industry is a multi-billion-dollar business. And traditionally, when we were growing up, it was about the top like 6 or 8 brands that all had a recognizable logo on the quarter of the shoe, the quarter lateral of the shoe. But within the last 5 years back then, because of collaborations like Adidas, Raf Simons, or Nike Comme des Garçons, or Balenciaga starts making cool product, now this audience is aware of the fact that fashion houses can make sneakers, and it's an opportunity. And so even though I was like unemployed in my boxers on a couch, literally the image of unemployment, this was me just putting myself out there. A few days later, Donatella Versace emailed me back. She said she loved my ideas, wanted me to come to Milan and tell her more. I put together a presentation of everything I knew about sneakers. I went to the store, I did my market research. I was reminded that there's not too many people that look like a lot of us in this high fashion space, so it was bigger than me and I could be paving a way. I was told to put sample design work in there and not assume they knew I could do the work. And so I ended up going out there with like a 40-page presentation of this is what I think is cool, this is what I think you guys should do. Met with her one-on-one. She started bringing people into the room. She loved me. And she was like, I want to hire you. I want you to be the head of sneakers or whatever the position was. And so instantly my life changed. I went outside and did my pursuit of happiness. But instantly my life changed, and my life changed because I put myself out there and I asked. And so now, when I asked if there were any askers in this room, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's only about 6 people that raised their hands.
Yeah.
And given that I was able to change my life simply from asking, that should be proof that the worst thing that could happen is no, and the best thing that could happen is something better,
And to that point, before we wrap up, what is one thing, if someone in this room is reading, you would want them to take away from the book and it stick with them after they read this book?
I just don't think there are many maybe like Bibles or rule books or rule books or even like cheat codes, for lack of a better term, for this space. There's one right there that we're all familiar with, and I would consider that to be a Bible of our space, right? And so the goal of this was to create a Bible for our space, and also a retrospective of someone that was really just had a passion and wanted to, really wanted to have a moment like this. This was somewhat of the dream, and so this book represents the journey, and I think a lot can be learned from it. And yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to check it out.
You guys excited to read the book, maybe get it signed?
Yeah.
And I saw it's doing good. It's like #1 in the pop culture.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's doing real good. Trying to get New York Times bestseller.
Okay, let's make that happen. Well, congratulations.
Yes.
Very proud of you, and this is a great documentation of your journey that up until now, because you have a lot more to go, and this is just 15 years in.
Yeah, we were going to call it Chapter 1, but then Devin Booker took that for his shoe. So.
See? Nike always getting in the way, right? Thanks again, everyone. Thanks for coming. Congratulations, Salehe.